Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Board of Education. This meeting is called to order at 4 p.m. in open session. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Subnat, Ms. Armstrong,
Present.
Ms. Cintron,
Present.
Mr. Critchfield,
Present.
Mrs. Garza, Ms. Stewart.
Present. Tonight, we do have requests addressing closed session agenda items. While meetings of the governing board are not public meetings, they are open to the public. Individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 21 minutes per board bylaw 9322.2. All right, can we have Ms. Christina Williams? You have to turn the mic on real fast. You just push the little,
The one with
go.
the little picture or the microphone?
There you go.
Okay. Shoot, sorry. Okay. It's like being in my classroom. Good afternoon, board members and district staff. I'm Christina Williams. I work at Mayfair in the middle school. I'm a 7th grade teacher. I've been there for 28 years. I'm here to speak today about a couple of our counselors in the middle school, Ms. Yepes and Ms. Contreras. I understand that their contract is ending. They were hired as SEL counselors initially. And I just wanted to talk about the impact that they've had at our school. I'm going to talk first about the consistency that they've brought. So they started out as our SEL counselors. They've been our middle school counselors for the last 2 years. And they have just been great at working to support our middle school students. They have very open communication. They're very quick with feedback. When I talk to one of the counselors about a situation with a student, usually the same day, if not the next day, they'll stop by my room, they'll call me into the office, just let me know, hey, this is what we're gonna do. They're very collaborative. They work with the teachers. They get input from us to help make best decisions for our students. We finally have a consistent team there. We have Mr. Wright now, and we have our counseling staff there, and I feel like it's moving in a positive way for our students there. Our counselors have really worked to build in some systems. They've done things like doing these minute check-ins with the 8th graders to talk to them about, hey, promotion's coming up, make sure that you're staying on track. They met with each of them individually. They do things like backpack cleanouts with the kids, their folder cleanouts, helping our students to stay organized because it's definitely a struggle for our middle schoolers. They are accessible to our students, really easy for them to find them. They have a QR code that the students can use to make appointments with them, and they're outside a lot, so they'll see them a lot too. The second thing I want to talk about is how their SEL background is such a strength for our middle school students. I watch them, and they really understand the emotional needs of our students. They're so patient with them. They check in with them. Last week, I was outside of my room, and I walked past, I don't know which one of the Ms. Yepes or Ms. Contreras, I think it was Ms. Yepes, and I watched her walk up to a student who was sitting on the ground with their head down, just looking really upset, and just seeing her check in with them, and it's almost like it's their superpower, this ability to look at our students and see their needs. I think that they're such an asset to the middle school, and I'm really hoping that we will continue their contract on because they're really helping to move our middle school in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I have Mr. Dan Fong? Welcome.
Mic is already on for me. Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, board and cabinet. I'll just say Superintendent Acevedo because she's definitely done a better job than any interim superintendent I know of. I've been here a long time and spoken to all of you in different capacities, but this is my first time speaking with a 3-minute timer, which I can't believe. I've been at Mayfair 18 years now, and yesterday was the hardest day of my career there. I'm thankful for the support that the district offered, the school support that was given, and it really helped teachers as well as grieving friends and teammates, cast members, as they navigated a very unexpected event. It helped me realize how important it is that we have people there that know our students and support them, and have the tools and the training to be able to provide what students need when these kinds of tragedies face us. We have an incredible middle school team right now, as Ms. Williams just mentioned. Thank you to all of you for realizing the needs of our middle school students, especially. They are different than our high school students, and they often get overlooked as we are combined 7 through 12 school. We made an incredible hire with Mr. Calvert-Wright, and we made some incredible hires under some categorical funding with Ms. Yepes and Ms. Contreras, and they are a wonderful, wonderful team. It's amazing to see the movement that has happened just within a month with the combined resources and support. As Ms. Williams said, oh man, is this on video, all this too? Wow. As Ms. Williams said, these SEL counselors are not just doing SEL now. They are full-on counselors the last couple of years with loads of over 300 students each. And they have, again, done a remarkable job. I've never gotten up here for any sort of bargaining business, any sort of business that happened with the people that were at the board or over here at these tables. And I'm here now for students, not for teachers, not for my own self, but because our students and our school are benefiting from these people. And I hope that as we balance fiscal responsibility with the responsibility to our students, that we'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I have Ms. Kirsten Clinton, please? Welcome.
Hi, welcome everyone. Kirsten Clinton. I, like my colleagues, have been reflecting upon the work that our counselors have been doing the last couple of years. As you all know, it has been tough to get the right people in the right spots, right? You guys on the board, right people, right spots. Our cabinet, right people, right spots. It has been an effort in all kinds of ways, and I've just been reflecting on how finally, after so many years of really trying to maneuver people into the right spots, how it's starting to feel like it's working, how it's starting to feel successful for our students. I'm afraid that if our counselors go away, what is the school going to look like again? You know, we've been fighting to get people, positions filled, people in there, and finally it's a moving train and it's working, and the kids are finally responding because there's enough adults on campus to really help their needs. The counselors are doing such a great job. They're more than just counselors. They are putting in their heart and soul into these kids, and it's paying off. I'm seeing kids who don't feel cared about actually being cared about and working to do the right thing when it's hard. So as you guys move forward with your decision on hopefully, I don't know where we have the funding, but bringing them back in some kind of capacity, or hopefully a better capacity, maybe a stable position, I hope you guys consider that moving forward, because middle school students are a different breed. They need more than the rest. You know, I used to teach kindergarten. I always say they're like big kindergartners. They might be stinkier, they might, have more attitude, but they just need and want the love just the same. So I hope you guys consider keeping our wonderful counselors, because they have what it takes to get these kids going in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ms. Robin. Is it Bayla?
Yes, Baylog.
Bayla.
It's Baylog, but
Okay.
hi,
Welcome.
you guys. Thanks for being here. I'm actually speaking on behalf of 22 middle school teachers who signed this letter. So, dear board members, Superintendent Acevedo, and BUSD Cabinet, we're here tonight to express our deep gratitude for the unwavering support you have provided to Mayfair Middle School. Under your guidance, we have witnessed meaningful improvements on our campus, ensuring that both students and staff receive the support that they need to thrive. We truly appreciate the way this board listens, reflects, and makes thoughtful decisions that prioritize the well-being of students and staff while maintaining financial responsibility for the district. The board's initiative to provide a dedicated middle school assistant principal has already made a difference in the 1 month Mr. Calvert-Wright has been here. With the support of our middle school counselors, we believe we have the administrative team in place to take Mayfair Middle School to the next level. With that in mind, we want to bring to your attention an urgent concern. We understand that the categorical funding for our two counselors, Ana Sofia Yepes and Maria Contreras, is coming to an end. As you plan for the upcoming school year, we urge that you include these two invaluable members of our team in the district's budget. Middle school is a unique and often challenging time for students. It requires specialized support from individuals who understand the critical stage of development, people who can be both firm and compassionate. Ana Sofia and Maria have embodied this balance, dedicating themselves wholeheartedly to the Mayfair community. Their contributions extend far beyond their job descriptions. They have implemented 1-minute meetings, ensuring that every student on campus has a personal check-in to discuss their progress in areas for growth. They have created scavenger hunts and interactive activities to provide social emotional support in engaging ways. They have introduced monthly backpack checks, helping students develop organizational skills and responsibility. They are present at every middle school event, going above and beyond to support our students, staff, and families. More importantly, they have fostered a culture where no staff member or student ever feels unsupported. Their impact is undeniable, and their absence would leave a significant void in our school community. We ask that as you make staffing decisions, you consider the vital role they play at Mayfair Middle School. Their investment in their continued employment is an investment in our students, our teachers, and the overall growth of our school. Thank you for your time, your dedication, and your commitment to making Bellflower the best district it can be. We appreciate your consideration and your ongoing support.
Thank you.
And I have a letter for all of you. Just if you want it.
Yes, please. Will you hand it off maybe to Carrie, and then we'll grab them? Thank you so much, you guys, for coming and speaking. At this time, the board will recess to closed session at 4:12 p.m. Open session will resume at approximately 6 p.m. Thank you. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight's meeting of the Board of Education was called to order at 4 p.m. in open session. The board then adjourned to closed session at 4:12 p.m. and will now reconvene the meeting in open session at 6:06 p.m. Board Clerk Critchfield will update us on closed session topics.
Thank you, Madam President. The topics discussed in closed session were student matters, anticipated litigation, and public employee discipline, dismissal, and release. The board has reached a settlement agreement with George Martinez for voluntary resignation. The district will pay Mr. Martinez the sum of $81,000. He shall receive health benefits until the end of the calendar year or until he gains new employment, whichever is first. Mr. Martinez will also receive a vacation payout of $72,321.93. His resignation will be effective March 13th, 2025.
Thank you, Clerk Critchfield. Replacement pages for items 14.6 and 14.9 are on the back table. Do we have any other replacement pages?
No other replacement pages.
Okay, awesome. So tonight, you guys, for the Pledge of Allegiance, we are going to have Craig Williams, Principal. Cecilia Madrid, will you please come up and lead us in the flag salute? Thank you so much for being here.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
No corrections this evening.
Okay, awesome. So tonight we have some recognitions that we're really excited for. Mrs. Acevedo, please.
We do have recognitions this evening. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Carter.
If we could have the board please come down for these recognitions. This evening, the Board of Education is pleased to recognize teams from our district who earned the distinction of CIF Southern Section champions during the winter sports season. Staff and students, please come forward as I call your name and remain for a picture. Representing Mayfair Cheer, we have Advisor Michelle Mikado and the following team captains, Noah Clark and China Blackston. Please come forward. Thanks to the exceptional coaching and guidance of Mayfair coaches and staff, along with the hard work and dedication of our students, the Mayfair Cheer earns several accolades. First, CIF Southern Section Champions Division III Co-Ed. Their second accolade, fourth place out of 12 at USA Nationals in the Varsity Co-Ed Novice Division. And the third accolade, Junior Varsity second place at USA Nationals in the JV Co-Ed Novice Division. Congratulations to all of the staff, students in achieving these titles. Let's give them another round of applause. Would you like to recognize anybody in the audience tonight?
Unfortunately, our team's actually competing in stunt right now, so we're in a match. That's why there's so
Okay.
The season is kind of year-round at this point, so they're at Mayfair hosting our stunt team right now. So that's why we only have 2 representatives.
Well, we wish them luck. Congratulations. Uh-huh. And that is our final recognition for this evening.
Okay, so now we're moving on to our student spotlight. Tonight we have a student being honored from Craig Williams. If Miss Madrid could bring up her student, please. Thank you so much for being here.
Good evening, Board President Stewart, esteemed members of the Board, Interim Superintendent Acevedo, Cabinet members, and guests. My name is Cecilia Madrid, and I am the proud principal of Craig Williams, home of the Wildcats. It is my honor to bring forward to you one of our amazing CW teachers that will be introducing our student on a spotlight, Mr. Monty Weiss.
Thank you.
Giving a teacher a microphone, it's dangerous. All right, as we know, the arrival of any child into our world comes with many fears, many dreams, many hopes. Michael is fortunate. He was born into a family that vanquishes fears and chases dreams. He was also fortunate because he was born the middle child between his older sister, Mariah, who's with us here tonight, and Marley and Leia, who I just met tonight. Being the only boy between girls will toughen you up and prepare you for life's challenges. And Michael has met those challenges. A Wildcat since first grade, his teacher, Mrs. Shore, has recognized right away that Michael was exceptional in every way. She tells of a first grade Michael that was always positive, always cheerful, continually pushing himself, even at that young age, to do his best and to encourage his classmates to do the same. His second and fourth grade teachers, Mrs. Ibezma and Mrs. Gilstrap, echoed those same sentiments and saw that same spark in Michael. And I can tell you unequivocally that in sixth grade, that spark's brighter than ever. I could tell from the first day that Michael walked into class, he was a force to be reckoned with. He strolled into class with 3 girls that are popular and very well liked. They all took a seat at a pod together and were just talking and casually joking. But the second I started speaking, you could see that he just exuded this quiet confidence and this laser sharp focus, able to tune out the chaos that can be sixth grade, and not miss a single word that was said. And if you're in education, and I know I have a lot of my BTA crew behind me here, if you're in education, you know when you see one of those scholars in your classroom, and Michael is one of those scholars. You can't trip him up if you wanted to, and you never want to. He approaches every challenge as an opportunity to triumph, every failure as an opportunity to grow. And even when he's wrong, which is rare, you can see those wheels turning and spinning, digesting the understanding, those synapses firing. They say that a rising tide lifts all boats. At CW, Michael is our rising tide. His commitment to his own excellence ripples out to those around him, inspiring his peers to new heights daily. His natural abilities and his incredible work ethic have earned him a spot on our academic excellence list every single trimester that he's been eligible for it. But his intellectual curiosity and his academic achievements, they're just a small part of Michael's story. When our 2025 robotics team got up and running, Michael was all in from day one. While most of the team was 80% robotics and 20% being social, Michael was 95% robotics and 5%, oh yeah, can your robot do that? But it was always with a humility, because if the robot couldn't, Michael would show him how. And then when our sixth graders decided they wanted to peer tutor some third grade roboticists, that's when Michael really shined. He's a natural helper. He works with the patience of a saint and the skill of an expert, making sure that his third graders that he tutors feel that when the robots are successful, it was all them, and when they're not, coaches them to make them work. He coaches and helps his third graders with a warmth and a compassion that's all heart. And the same is true when he's working with his reading buddies or coaching his peers in math. And as if that's not enough, then there's Gape Band, where Michael rocks his creative side on the clarinet. Tuesday night, in fact. An exceptional scholar, a heart of gold tutor, a magnificent musician, Michael truly makes the world a smarter, more compassionate, more beautiful place simply by being Michael. On behalf of your entire Wildcat family, Michael, we're so proud of the young man you've become, and we are so excited for the future that lies ahead for you. Congratulations, my friend.
Would you like to say anything to us? No? Would you, okay, would you like to take a picture with us? Yes. Okay, can we take a picture with them? Okay.
Okay, wait, Michael, hold on.
Okay, so we're moving on to our student representative reports. So first up, from Bellflower High School, we have Stephen Martinez.
Good evening, Board President Seward, members of the Board, Interim Superintendent Ms. Acevedo, guests, and fellow students. This is Bellflower High School's March Board Report. So starting off with some of our past events, our A through G breakfast was for our juniors who are meeting A through G requirements, which was well over 100. All these students were informed by their counselors of the next process of going to college and universities, which as that comes up slowly, we all have to start applying. And as well as some seniors were able to talk about how their process was and what are some of the tips that they should follow. Next is our Kona Ice fundraiser. Over 200 students came out in support of the Kona Ice fundraiser for Bellflower. Read Across America was at the beginning of this month, and we sent students to 5 elementaries where some of them did go there and they relived some childhood memories, but also were able to read to kids during this week. Next is our Renaissance Week. So we had our Renaissance Rally and our Renaissance Week. So there was our different dress-up days like construction gear, and stuffed animals. We also had our rally, which we also tried out a new game with that inflatable mattress on the bottom where kids would slide across the gym floor. And we also gave an award to Mr. Ellis. Some important news is that it's the end of the third quarter, so today was the end of the third quarter, and tomorrow there's no school, yay. And 3-day weekend to end off a good quarter. Yeah. in some of our future events. We don't have many future events, but tomorrow at noon at 12, we are announcing the prom theme on our social media, so be tuned and look at there. And the location for this year is Ovation in Long Beach, and the time is at 7 p.m. on May 3rd. Some other news is that our counselors are more than halfway done with meeting with students to finalize next year's classes. And on behalf of Bellflower, we offer our condolences and prayers to the family and entire Mayfair community from the tragedy this week. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. All right, so for Mayfair, we have Gil Friedman.
Good evening, President Stewart, Interim Superintendent Ms. Acevedo, board members and district colleagues. I want to thank you for your support through this time. We all appreciate it. The family appreciates it. And yeah. So for academics, we have a new program at Mayfair. It's called the Early College Program. It's through Cerritos College and Mayfair. Right on campus, freshmen are now going to be able to take college courses on campus and get a ton of college credits throughout their high school career. So that's a super cool program. That was the meeting the other night. It was packed, so it's going to flourish. Moving on to athletics, the Hall of Fame celebration was held on the 24th of February, and we had 18 Monsoons recognized for their outstanding performances, specifically Courtney Cummings, who is our star flag football player at Mayfair. She was recognized by the National Football Foundation at the Rams Stadium for her outstanding performance on and off the field. For the arts, our choir, we had our Singing Valentine's Grams go out last month. Our sneak preview concert was held a couple weeks ago at the Civic Center, and we are now preparing for our competition this weekend at Los Alamitos, the Extravaganza, and we're also preparing for our West Coast tour. It's all the same show, so if you get a chance to come out this Saturday, it's a great show. And band held their 23rd annual jazz festival in the MPB with over 30 bands in attendance. We had our elective fair, which was hosted by ASB. Different electives could come out and explain what their class is about and, you know, everything that they have going on throughout the year. YBS had their student presentations where they got to honor historic and famous black people from, you know, all around the world, and that was a great event. We had our open house. It was pretty rainy. Not so fun, but I know some of you guys got to come out and see it, so we appreciate that. And our Abilities Awareness Assembly was amazing. It was so much fun, and I'm glad that you guys got to come and see and support. We got to have all of our unified programs show off what they do and all their skills and talents, and it was an amazing time. And I'm now going to hand it off to Skills USA President Roman Diaz and Vice President Maximo Romas. Thank you.
Good evening. It is an honor to be here. I'd like to thank, I'm from Mayfair High School. We'd like to thank you for setting some time aside to hear about the Skills USA report for the 2024 to 2025 school year. So throughout the academic school year, we have competed in various CTE and leadership competitions. And in January, we competed at the regional level against local high schools. In these competitions, our members worked hard to win 8 gold medals, 6 silver medals, and 1 bronze medal again at the regional level. In April, we will be going to Ontario, where 28 of our members will be competing at the state level. Along with this, we have participated in more community service projects, such as helping a residential cleanup in Lakewood, touring several departments during Manufacturing Day at Cerritos College, volunteering with the Lakewood Police Department for a Halloween event and Safety Expo, and having Mayfair alumni guest speakers from Lockheed Martin and Mattel visit our campus to share their experience working in the field of engineering To our members, we would like to thank you for upholding this program, as it has been a vital and solid foundation for our members and students who are interested in STEM and honing their leadership skills. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Bellflower Unified School District. I'm Maximo Ramos from Mayfair High School's Skills USA chapter. I'm here this evening to give our gratitude and acknowledgement for Skills USA and letting me and many other students be able to showcase our abilities and future skills. Skills USA, I've been giving an great opportunity for Skills USA Leadership Academy that I've been going to the summer. This program has helped me find my potential and help many others who have joined this academy. Skills USA has helped many of us to really show off our STEM abilities, as Roman said. And it's been really wonderful and a great experience for all of us. Thank you for helping us all on many years to letting us compete and from regional, state, and nationals. Thank you for letting us go to Ontario this year and many other years upcoming. Thank you, Bellflower Unified School District, for letting us find our leadership and find our potentials to unlock. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes it, Gil? Yes? Okay, thank you so much. All right, so now we have Julian Becerra, who's filling in for Jay Torres from Somerset High School.
Good evening, everyone. President Stewart, members of the board, Intern Superintendent Liz Acevedo, members of the cabinet, and to everyone, my fellow guests of the audience. My name is Julian Becerra. It is a great honor to be here again, as it is my returning and unfortunately my last presentation as student board reporter of Somerset High School. So to start off, our Skills USA, we had 3 winners in our school under the guidance of Mr. Guzman, Yvette Guido, and Ruby Gutierrez won gold and silver respectively in the telecommunications cabling contest. Jay Torres won bronze in the action skills event. All 3 of these students will be moving forward to the state competition that will take place in April. Next up, Somerset students went to the LA Holocaust Museum. Students from Miss Adams and Miss Egan's class went there on February 12th. Tour guide presented everything the museum had to offer, from artifacts from the camps to the propaganda of the Nazis. Holocaust survivor Eva Paulin Nathanson, forgive me, hooked our students with her impacting story, which explained a little bit more of what she remembered in the camps, and that impulsed students to ask further more questions on how was it, or many other details. Next up, we had ASB organized a dodgeball tournament. It was a very fun game, and it was students versus staff. Not many staff, but again, we had a very fun game. Next up, we have one of our students, Liz Nunez, participated in a Lions Club speech, and she brought up a really good argument. Her speech was AI, friend or foe. So far, she has won the first 2 rounds. First round was locally, and the second round was, pardon me, where was it again? Second round, it was by city, and then the third round, we're not quite sure what is gonna be, but yeah, she will be taking participation in the third round. So we wish the best of you, Liz. You're doing a great job. Next up, the CT Advisory Committee. Somerset staff and a CTE student representative attended it. The CTE Advisory Committee met last night to learn about the programs BUSD offers students. While touring Bellflower High School aviation program, our counselor, Ms. Davila, learned how to fly and land a small plane using their flight simulator. She was very excited. She was like a little child again. And to conclude my report, this is what we have upcoming. Since we have a different schedule, we use block schedule. Tomorrow we will still continue with school. On March 20, we'll have our career fair. It's a day where a lot of people from Cerritos or Long Beach or people who have experience in their job offer information to the students so that students have an idea of what they would like to do after high school. We're still looking for more guest speakers for our career day on March 20th. So please let us know if you're interested in sharing about what you do for a living with the students at Somerset. On March 7th, it will be the start of Block 7. And starting Block 7, from March 17th to March 21st, we will have our Spring Spirit Week. And we also have 4 upcoming field trips. A trip to Disneyland, next one is the LA County Fair, and our NHRA, which is basically like a drag race, and film festival that will be held in the California State University, I think. Yeah, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you so much. It was a great honor doing board reports, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much. We will be sad to see you go, Julian, so thank you so much for doing that for us. And we know that you guys have other obligations. That could be homework, family, friends, whatever, so you are free to leave at this time. But thank you so much for your reports. Okay, we do not have employee representative reports tonight from BTA or CSEA. Do we have PTA communications from Ms. Morgan? Mrs. Morgan? Yes? All right, so PTA communications with President Linda Morgan. Thank you.
This one? Okay. Good evening, President Stewart, board members, interim superintendent Azevedo, staff, and community members. Wait. I should know how to do this now. A quick membership update, first of all. We surpassed last year's total by about 30 members. So we were at 2,444 members. Thank you. And what's not on here, but I attended Ernie Pyle's PTA meeting yesterday, and I found out that they too now have 100% of their teachers that joined their PTA. So I promised them next month I'll have them on the slide as well. Apparently it's a competition. So I was glad to hear it. Ernie Pyle now has 100% of their teachers join their PTA. And collaboration between parents and teachers has been great. Okay, so it's been a while, about a month. A lot of stuff has happened. Many of our PTAs held Valentine's events. A lot of different dances and activities, teacher appreciation lunch, and I know there's more coming at several sites. They had Black History Month activities, the Reflections Art Program, the campus beautification. I know at Thomas Jefferson, so I want to thank the district for their plug on the newsletter as well. And a lot of family engagement events, whether it's dances, what else? They had assemblies, activities, Read Across America, a book fair, picnic, and other activities. They celebrated Women's History Month with assemblies, and the scholarship applications are out for our high school seniors. A couple of our units actually send me photos to share, so I'm going to highlight a few of our sites. One of them being Stephen Foster, and this is their mother figure, mother and son dance. And then this is Bellflower Middle High School PTSA. They had a family engagement event, a paint and sip evening. At Lindstrom Elementary, they held a math assembly. Another hosted a book fair, and they had their Read Across America activities, and then staff joined in on the fun on Twin Day. That's the photo on the lower right corner. Woodruff PTA, they hosted an International Women's Day Assembly with several guest speakers. They held their PTA Founders Day tie-dye party and hosted a BMX assembly at their campus to wrap up Kindness Week at Woodruff. And then at council, as well as our sites, I myself had the pleasure of meeting with President Stewart. Thank you for your time, and I really enjoyed that. We attended a 33rd District PTA annual meeting with some of our PTA officers. I attended the BOSD Job Fair and Resource Fair. Thanks for inviting me and getting to see that and participate, so appreciate that. It was a good event. Also, the Teacher of the Year Committee. That was a new experience. Thank you, Dr. Ryan, Dr. Smith. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, we all know we have a lot of amazing teachers. So it was really neat to read the applications. Fun for me was noticing that a lot of the nominees had been awarded or recognized by their PTAs with the Honorary Service Award for going above and beyond. So again, parents, know their teachers and appreciate them very much. So that was kind of fun. On the right is our council officers for the upcoming term, which starts July 1st. We have a pretty good group already, still looking for a couple more volunteers. Positions are secretary, membership communications, financial secretary, and historian. So again, we're not quite there, but we have a good start. Anyone that's interested and has a passion for our students, would love to have you join. And then some of our upcoming events, our Reflections Art program, we did have to change the date, so it'll be April 1st. It's on a Tuesday, 6 p.m. here in the boardroom. At council level, we received about 45 entries from 9 out of our 12 PTAs that participated. So we'll be celebrating our winners that evening. Formal invitation will be sent via email. Love to have you guys. And then Historian Mixers, where we recap the year and celebrate, everything that our PTAs have done. They usually have a great presentation to share with each other. That's coming up in May, and then later in May, our Honorary Service Awards night, and more information on that is to come as well, because that includes a date change. So I have one more note that I wanted to share for the superintendent search. We have shared out, the information in the different forums, but I did want to point out that the PTA forum that is scheduled for 1:40 p.m. Most of our PTA parents work, and so I just say that in case attendance is not what you'd expect or would like it to be. I know there's a community forum also during the day, and then there's the online survey. So, we've shared it out. I just, a little stipulation. If the turnout isn't what you'd like it to be, most of our parents are working parents. So, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. Can we get that schedule for the board members to look at? Or can we look and see if anything can be done about those dates and times?
Yes, absolutely. There's also an open community forum in the evening available to anyone who's unable to make the scheduled time. But yes, we can get you a copy of that.
Okay, so take it into your superintendent's report?
Yes, I can do that.
Go ahead.
So I'm grateful, obviously, tonight that we started the evening by celebrating students from Craig Williams and from Mayfair High School. That was a nice start to tonight. Yesterday was a difficult day for the Bellflower Unified community. My heartfelt condolences go out to the family of our Mayfair student during this incredibly challenging time. Our staff remains fully committed to providing support to our students and staff as we navigate this period of grief. I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the swift and compassionate response of our crisis team, which includes our own dedicated staff, as well as additional support from LA County Office of Ed, Pathways, EASE, and the Department of Mental Health. I'm especially grateful to Alma Ulloa for her organized coordination of these resources to ensure that our community receive the care and assistance needed during this time. Together, we'll continue to support one another and prioritize the well-being of our students and staff. Tomorrow's school close day will provide everyone, I think, with an opportunity to pause, to kind of recharge and reset. And I thank all of you for being here, and I thank you for the evening tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I debated on whether to talk about this or say anything, and I don't want to say a whole lot because I do want to respect that family, but obviously what happened is tragic. We're here for your support, for anything that you guys need, our teachers, our students, our staff. Please reach out, but our hearts are with you guys, our prayers are with you guys, and we support you in any way that we can. All right, so moving on to committee reports. I'm just going to kind of go down the list real quick. We have quite a few committees going on. Alliance. Vice President Garza, would you like to talk kind of about what we talked about? The major theme of our Alliance meeting this last meeting was climate and culture. Do you want to add?
Yes, we actually did speak about that. And we talked about how climate and culture are looked at differently in different campuses. And we agree that there are some things that we need to make sure are, taken into all campuses. So that way we're all on the same page. We did discuss about how we can do that, also how we can make sure that we can continue to talk about that as well and having those forums within the Alliance members. And maybe even some, different tactics that we can use during staff meetings as well. Maybe different types of icebreakers, that sort. We also discussed about having our next upcoming meeting, which I think is rescheduled.
April 22nd?
Yeah, so maybe going over kind of a quick look at where we started, where we are now, and looking into the future, seeing what else we can place on our agendas to make sure that we are covering all the different aspects and points of view that are out there right now, and needs as well.
Another thing that came up was how we do Teacher of the Year. We used to have just, the application process, and we had teachers that were chosen. And this year they've gone to having a teacher honored at each site, which I think is amazing because every site has someone that stands out and goes above and beyond. So it was really nice to hear about that change. And I hope that next year we can also do the same for our CSEA employees. I feel like they need to have their own representative at each site, and then we'll choose a district teacher and site person. But that was a really nice update that we got in that meeting as well. Anything that we're not thinking of? Okay. All right, moving on. There's not any, we didn't have a SPED meeting, so we don't have that. Foundation, do you want to say anything about that, or are you, Brad? Anything, updates on Foundation?
I will say I know a couple more applications have come in, and we should be bringing that back to the board, hopefully at the next board meeting.
Okay. And then we have our school site future planning. Does anybody want to say anything on that? I know we have go ahead.
So the next thing we have coming up, we have the learner-centered trip. So this Sunday, Dr. Smith, actually a whole busload of us are going down to San Diego, and we're going to be visiting, 9 sites? Five, okay, easier than I thought. So we're spending a couple days in San Diego, and it's going to be a very productive trip, and then we'll report on that when we get back.
And just so you guys know, the committee, we have a purpose for each of our committees. For that particular committee, we're really looking to review our current enrollment data, our trends, and develop short-term and even long-term solutions to try to address some of our enrollment challenges. So that's kind of why we put that in place. We have an athletics committee. We're going to be meeting soon. We are really looking at our code of conduct and just things that apply to athletics. So myself and President, CalOps President, Clerk Critchfield. He likes titles more than me anyway, so it was great for his ego right now. We're going to be looking at code of conduct and just different things going along. And then we just started a climate and culture that board member Armstrong and I are going to be sitting on, and we're going to be meeting. Our next meeting will be on March 31st, so we'll get back to you. And then we've had quite a few school safety. We started a safety committee. We've had quite a few of those meetings. If board member Cintron or Clerk Critchfield would like to chime in on that one.
Sure. So our last meeting was on March 10th, and in that meeting, we were tasked to, we had 11 different security firms that put in proposals, and we were able to, as a committee, have great conversations and dialogue. We whittled that down to 4 companies out of the 11, and then on March 19th, we'll be having our next meeting where we'll be getting presentations from each of these 4 companies. We'll be able to ask a lot of questions, and from there, we'll be able to bring recommendation to the board for even more robust discussions here in open.
And board member Armstrong, do you want to report anything on LACSTA? I know you attended the in-person in Paramount. Was there anything to report?
Yeah, LACSTA keeps me busy, very busy. Well, my goodness, okay.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, no, it's a lot of stuff going on. You know, we have our assembly members and our senators. Senator Lena Gonzalez and Tony Thurman. They'll be discussing safe school, immigration protections, and those issues are going to be heard on April 2nd. And I have a template if we as a board, or you can do it individually, if we want to write in to help support it. So I do have a template that I can share. This week was the legislative week, the CSBA legislative week. That's California School Board Associations, and what they do is that we have our PACER, our public connection with CSBA and our assembly members. This is what I was putting up. So this week, they had a lot of talking points. They talked about budget priorities, sponsor legislation, and the assembly members who's putting it out there. A lot of this stuff is online, but I also, let me see. One thing is I'm going to share this one because this was a conversation that board member Clerk Critchfield asked me about. So we have Jose Luis Salache. Stop it. He's going to be there's going to be a hearing about school board member compensation. So I asked Brad, so Brad, did you have anything to do with that? And he was like, well, you know, I did put it out there. But he has about he's going to be speaking on dual language immersion. So they're going to have a hearing on that. And what that was going to do is establish a one-time grant to be administered over 3 years for the California Department of Education, and it's going to be focused on increasing the amount of instructional materials for dual immersion programs, including developing materials and purchasing them. I can't go over all of it because I have a lot of stuff here. So that's it.
Thank you for your updates.
Maybe I should just share it, you know, give you guys a copy.
Thank you. Okay.
Right, thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, tonight we do have requests addressing open session agenda items. While the meetings of the governing board are not public meetings, they are open to the public. Individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 21 minutes as per board bylaw 9322.2. All right, can we have Karine Youssef? Thank you for being here, and I did read your statement, so thank you so much for providing it to us beforehand as well.
Okay. Good evening, President Stewart, members of the board, Superintendent Acevedo. My name is Karine Youssef. I am a special education teacher at Mayfair High School, and I've worked for Bellflower for nearly 24 years. I'm here to express my deep concerns regarding the current state of our school, particularly the lack of regard for the needs of our special education students and the overall learning environment. As a teacher, I've witnessed firsthand how the sense of community that once defined our school has fractured, leaving both staff and students feeling disconnected and unsupported. Our students have unique strengths, challenges, and potential. As educators, we dedicate our time, energy, and passion to ensuring that each student receives the education they deserve. Yet teachers, staff, and students continue to feel disregarded when decisions about their future are both made at the site and district levels. When decisions are made without the input of those who work closest with students, the result is often a disconnect between intention and impact. While data and reports can provide insight, they cannot replace the actual experiences of those in the classroom. What looks effective on paper does not necessarily translate into meaningful progress for students with diverse needs. Additionally, safety concerns have reached a critical point. With fights occurring nearly every day, there seems to be no clear plan for maintaining order. As a teacher, I come to work uncertain of what the day will bring. The lack of accountability among administrators has contributed to a chaotic and unsafe environment that could have been prevented with decisive action early on. Instead, the situation has spiraled out of control, leaving staff and students harmed or vulnerable. Just as teachers and staff are held accountable for their responsibilities, administrators should be held to the same standard. Our concerns must be acknowledged and steps must be taken to restore order, prioritize student safety, and ensure that special education students receive the support they deserve. As I speak tonight, I know my concerns are shared by many who choose not to share their discontent publicly for fear of retaliation or feel their voice does not matter. In my 24 years in this district, I have never felt so overwhelmed, unheard, disappointed, disrespected, and uncertain about the future as I have in this past few years. Perhaps I care too much, but I don't know any other way to be. We approach our job with integrity. We work hard every day to improve for our students. I will always be their advocate, so I make this my fight. It is unfortunate that I must make this statement. To be clear, moving forward, if I experience any negative repercussions after speaking here tonight, whether in relation to my schedule, position, evaluation, or any other aspect of my role, I will consider it an act of retaliation. I am intentional every single day, and I will always speak truth to power. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so moving along to discussion items. Tonight we have one discussion item this evening. It's item 12.1, the second interim financial statements. Mrs. Acevedo.
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Business Officer, Mrs. Arcus.
Thank you very much. Good evening, President Stewart, Vice President Garza, board members, fellow cabinet members, and members of staff and community here and at home tonight. I have the pleasure of presenting to you tonight our second interim report, which is our second opportunity to look at the financial activities of the district. I will ground us once again in our budget reporting cycles so that we report at each of our cycles. We will always know where we're coming from and where we're headed to. We have made our way to the second interim reporting, which reports on our actual expenditures through January 31st, 2025, and projects our expenditures and revenues through the end of the fiscal year, June 30th, 2025. We have already begun the process for the budget development and will be contacting sites and offices starting next week, which leads me to our next slide. We received some information in January when our governor released the budget, and I have included updated information that we received in January here in our reports tonight. Many of the impacts are to our multi-year planning. If you'll recall, when we bring interims to board, we also plan for the current and the next 2 fiscal years. As you can see from this budget planning cycle, January is our start, but we start to overlap our process with this current year that we're still in and start to already prepare for our future budget. Just reminding us again that budget planning is a multi-year fiscal year monitoring that goes on throughout the year. Tonight I will bring the board the second interim. It's for actuals reported through January 31st and estimated expenditures reported through the end of the year. The second interim provides those 2 additional years so that we can look at 25-26 and 26-27. Tonight I am bringing it for board approval, as the financials show that our district can meet our financial obligations in the current and the next 2 fiscal years. Our second, in order to project revenue and expenditures, we use the planning assumptions, and these are the things that we monitor. So our revenues, which is the largest portion that we receive from the state of California, really hinge upon our cost of living, which is our COLA, our funded ADA, which is the students that come to school every year, and our enrollment is what drives our ADA. So the number of kids that we have enrolled then translates into how many students come each year. I have updated the factors from our governor's budget. We had a drop in our COLA percentage for next year. It was at 2.93, and it's now projected at 2.43. So that will start to impact some revenues. But the good news is in the out year, we did get a slight increase also from the government as proposed. But we are waiting on a lot of the impact of the fires and things that happen in the state of California to see what will really happen. And that will really shine through when we get our May revise, which is the governor's next attempt at providing budget information for the 25-26 school year, as well as they provide the next 2 fiscal years information with the best of knowledge that they have. I've also included in our updated numbers expenses, including increased expenses for any contracts, supplies, employee expenses. One of the largest expenses that we incur as an employer, besides the actual employee salaries, is retirement and health and welfare benefits. So while we work hard to look at our health and welfare benefits and ensure that those benefits are the best they can be for our employees and make sure that they're appropriate, that we can afford them as a district, the CalSTRS, which is our teacher retirement, and the CalPERS employer rates are defined by the state of California. So I've included them here as well. So our unrestricted revenue is our largest portion of revenue that we receive from the state of California and other local and federal and state resources. It is split into 2 areas. So we have unrestricted funds, which is on your screen tonight when we're talking about revenue, and we also have restricted funds. I'm going to concentrate on our unrestricted general fund revenue. It is the funding that is least restrictive. Hence, you see right now, given the factors that I provided in earlier slides, you have a slight decrease in our revenue that we're projecting for the year, and that's due to the factors that I provided earlier. Again, these are sources that we use calculations on to determine what revenue that we might receive, and right now we're anticipating on receiving about $150.9 million in unrestricted revenue for this year. I broke out the other half of we have revenues and expenditures, so these are the expenditures that we're projecting, and I'm coming to you with a little bit of good news. We have a board-approved operating budget of about $137.4 million, but right now we're reflecting that our expenditures are going to be about in the $129.5 million range. The difference of about $7.9 million is still a collaboration between the fiscal department and our program departments, looking at areas where we can improve, looking at areas where we might be able to make changes in our budgeting processes, looking at areas where we might be able to use those more restrictive funds first. Something I've mentioned before is the restricted funds. A lot of them have expiration dates. So I'm constantly combating looking at the restricted funds available to us, when they might expire, and working with program departments to figure out what might best support us. So this is the number that I'm presenting to you tonight. As I stated earlier, we are required to do a multi-year projection. So I've included on the slides, of course, this is a culmination of a really big document with a lot of numbers in it, so I'm trying to bring forward the biggest pieces of the document. But here on this slide, I'm bringing forward the unrestricted revenues and expenditures that I just showed you, and it comes down to an ending fund balance that's across the bottom of the screen. So as you can see, we ended our year last year with about $96 million in our unrestricted ending balance. And based on decreased revenues from the state and increased operating expenditures, over the next few years, we will be seeing a decrease in fund balance. This is almost very similar to the report that I provided in first interim. I've made some minor adjustments between maybe years or things that will happen as information became available to me. But this number hasn't changed drastically from the first interim. That's what we're still projecting. Again, we're still looking. We're going to come back to you in the June timeframe with a final estimated actuals, how we're going to end the year. And we'll also start we'll bring to you the budget for 25-26. This is the entire fund. So I spoke earlier about the fact that our general fund is split into two areas. I like to concentrate on the unrestricted balance, but often people look at the general fund since it's our largest operating fund and where we do most of our business, they like to look at it as a whole. So I always bring the whole fund balance to you. Again, this is very similar to what I brought in the first interim. We've made some amendments, we've made some adjustments, we've looked in areas where the state, again, with the new factors, we've been able to change a couple things there. We've looked at our expenditure progression, and we have very similar numbers to what came to you in first interim. As we end on the general fund, we will actually break down the different components of our ending fund balance. So while we're projected to have about $106 million ending fund balance, some of that is non-spendable. It's required to be held for certain things like our inventory or prepayments that we might make to vendors for next year. We've got our restricted programs. I've talked a lot about that tonight, about $26.6 million. As a board, we committed back in December the $59 million, of which $19 million is for our deferred facilities and $40 million is our projected deficit. And it leaves us with about $7 million. I think it was spoke of last time. That's about a 3% of our general fund balance, and that's a required reserve. I've talked about this before. The state requires us to withhold about 3% and make sure that we have that as a reserve. Just to give a sample of how that lies, a payroll for a district our size can run about $9 million. So the state requires that we hold in reserve about $7 million, but you can imagine if we have a monthly payroll of $9 million, that's really not sufficient. And we have about $11 million that's unassigned, unappropriated at this time. This slide basically summarizes everything that I brought forward today. You can see that the blue is the unrestricted balance that we have in our general fund. The red is the restricted balance, which is programs such as Title I, ELOP, all the titles, I should say, several titles, ELOP, some of our after-school programs, those special ed, those are all the kind of balances that we might have in there. And the orange represents our combined balance. So as a system, you can see I've taken us all the way back to 22-23, when we were about 135. Coming into 23-24, we had 138. But coming into this year, we anticipate having about 106.9 million. One of the largest drops you can see is in the restricted side. Those are our ESSER one-time dollars. So remember, we had, starting in 2020, 2021-ish, we did receive a lot of funding that was for one-time purposes, kind of to hold us through the pandemic. And a lot of them, actually all of them, expired in this year. And so we utilized them in this year. Heading on into the next few years, we've got balance of about 78 and 59 million. That is basically what we're seeing. What we're seeing is revenues kind of dropping or not kind of keeping up with the pace of our expenditures. So as a system, the Fiscal Services Department, in conjunction with actually all of the other departments, is taking a look at our budget. I'm really excited to prepare for next year's budget. It'll be the first budget that I'll be able to do here. And just like with anything else that you do yourself, you kind of have a little bit more ownership, a little bit more knowledge about it, and it will give me a real opportunity to kind of dig in and see the kind of things that we have within our reach. So this last slide talks about the next steps. We have the release of the governor's May budget revise. So there's 3 steps. In January, they give us a preliminary. In May, they release a revise, and that's how we prepare our budget. That's the numbers that we know. because even though you are required by law, we are going to bring a public hearing and a board approval in June. The state, and you're required by law as the board to approve a budget before then. The state doesn't have to have us final budget numbers until June 30th. So it kind of puts us into a situation where we're going to bring you the information we have that's best available to us. And come July and August, if there's a huge change in the numbers from what we were told, we come back with what we call a 45-day revise. So we would bring that back. September 2025 kind of is the culmination of the year that we're in now. Again, like I said, I'm kind of in two worlds right now, utilizing both things. So we're going to bring the final unaudited actuals, which is the final numbers for 24-25. We'll turn those into LACO, and we'll go right back to the first slide and start all over again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Questions, colleagues? Clerk Critchfield.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for the presentation. And I know this is the next budget will be the one that you are part of the entire thing. So I know there's a little bit of that. Do you know how far we were off as far as our where we thought we were going to end the last fiscal year to where we actually ended?
So there's two areas that I saw. The estimated actuals is the one that's brought forth in June, and that's where we would provide you with a number where we think we're going to end. And it was about $45 million difference than where we did end.
How could you explain like that? Like, how does that happen?
I'll explain, because at the board meeting they had the estimated actuals, which projected kind of one number, but then they had like where we really thought we were going to land, which was actually a really good, accurate number.
Ryan, stop moving your head, man. I can't. She's jumping around behind you.
And so what was brought to the board was kind of a more accurate reflection of what we thought. They were really actually close to how the year landed. And so there was some maybe differences in the way that budgeting and budget processing was done before, the way projections were done before. I have a bit of a different method. I'm going to institute it, and we're going to bring it to the board, and we're going to get some feedback and see how it goes. I definitely will only be bringing you one set of numbers for estimated actuals when I come in June. It will be my best guess, given the information that I have of where the district's going to land as we close the books.
Okay. And I do appreciate, because I do see some changes, like even through this process, where I see the effort and we're going in that direction. And again, I understand like you haven't done the full budget for us yet. Just for my lays, it seems like we have a spending problem. Like what we allocate to which, and then where we're allocating it, it's just not being spent. And I think that's one of the biggest concerns from voices on the board, but also in the community, of spending this year's money on this year's kids. And when we think we're going to be, some of those graphs are kind of scary, so we kind of pull back on spending or approving things, but then we have the money. It's like, no, last year's kids, this year's kids, they're the ones who miss out on it. Right. So I think that's 100% of my concern is going to be about that, and getting as accurate as possible so we can budget appropriately, be good stewards of the money, but also make sure we're being as close as possible where we can actually spend on this year's kids. And I see you making that effort, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Do you have more questions?
Oh, no, that was it, sorry.
No. Anybody else? No? Okay, thank you so much. All right, moving along to major action. Our first major action is 13.1, Legislative Action Committee appointment. Do I have any questions or comments from the board? I brought this in last time we talked about it. I felt like it would be good to create a committee, a legislative action committee, to look at some of the topics that we're going to be looking at in the coast to coast, and to just look at future things that are happening in our government. Does anyone have any comments, questions? Clerk Critchfield?
I just want to say thank you for take the initiative for that committee. I think that's something for our district that has been seen as pretty insular and apart from those things. Your initiative to engage regionally in the state and nationally to advocate for our kids and all kids, I think, is commendable. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. So do I have a motion to approve item 13.1?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Supnit,
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong,
Aye.
Ms. Cintron,
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart.
Aye. All right, moving along to item 13.2, approval of the Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS, Supplementary Retirement Plan. Do we have any questions or comments? Staff, do you have anything on this one? I would just like to say that, one, I'm super jealous because all of you people, if approved, that's amazing. And I thank you guys for your service. Being able to retire has got to be amazing. I can't wait till I get there. But, we're really excited about the amount of people that we're seeing on this. And to get a little bonus when you leave and be able to retire, I think is amazing. So congratulations to all of you guys that were able to get this incentive. Anything else? All right, can I get a motion to approve 13.2?
You have that motion.
May I get a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Supnit,
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong,
Aye.
Ms. Cintron,
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart.
Aye. It's official. Congratulations. Okay, so moving along to our consent agenda, I would like to withhold item 14.4, the first read of the board policy for mobile communication devices. Does anyone have any others that they would like to withhold?
Yes, Madam President, if I could, I'd like to withhold 14.7.
Okay.
And also 14.21.
Are there any others? All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda and withhold items 14.4, 14.7, and 14.21?
Oh, so moved. Sorry.
Thank you. Moved by Clerk Critchfield, seconded by Board Member Armstrong. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Supnit,
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong,
Aye.
Ms. Cintron,
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield,
Aye.
Mrs. Garza,
Aye.
Ms. Stewart.
Aye. All right, so moving to our first item, 14.4, first read board policy mobile communication devices. Go ahead. Clerk Critchfield.
Oh, sorry.
14.4?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Clerk Critchfield?
No, which one is that?
Your mic is on. 14.4 is the first read board policy of the mobile communication devices, our cell phone policy.
Oh, wait, did I pull the wrong one? Hold on, I'm sorry. I pulled 14.7, no?
Your mic is on. That's why I'm asking. Did you have something to add to that one?
No, I'm sorry. I thought I pulled 14.7.
You did. I was going in the order 14.4, 14.7, 14. Yeah, no.
No.
Do you want to start with the different one?
No, that's fine.
Okay, 14.4, cell phone policy. I guess I'll talk because I was the one that pulled this. I just wanted to pull this basically so that we could have another conversation regarding this cell phone policy. I know I'm one that I think disagrees a little bit with this policy. I do feel that our students should not have their phones out at recess and lunch and breaks because I see where the bullying happens and it's then. But we did decide to go forward with this policy. What I just want to make sure of and talk about tonight is that, and we have a lot of teachers here, which is amazing, and hopefully people watching, is we are deciding to have this cell phone policy where you cannot use your phones in the classroom. And what's going to happen, I'm a teacher, is if we don't get buy-in from our administrators and all of our teachers, it's not going to work. So use us as the answer. If kids are complaining, parents are complaining, send them to admin or tell them, this is a board policy. Go talk to the board, email the board, and we'll take that because we want to see some type of change. And the only way to see change is to actually adhere to this policy and to enforce the policy. But we have to have everyone behind this, and we're in my mind, we're taking an easier route because, again, if it was me making one decision as one person, they wouldn't have them out at all. So we're looking at this. I just wanted to talk about it to give my colleagues a chance to speak on this, but we have to have buy-in from everybody, all campuses, and staff. We have to have our admin directed to enforce this. And if teachers are not going to enforce this, I'm not all about punitive things, but there needs to be something done. We all need to enforce this policy. Vice President Garza.
I agree with you. I agree with you, President Stewart. I've been on that end, on the other end, where I did enforce the cell phone policy myself, and I was accosted by a student because they were not ready to give it up, which means to me that no one really enforced it. So even as substitutes who are coming onto your campuses, they need to know that cell phone policy. It needs to be handed to them when they come in. It probably should be part of those binder that they are given that day, because anyone who is coming into our campuses to educate our students needs to know that this is something we really are going to uphold. As far as, who should parents come talk to, I agree with you too. This is our policy. This is what we're going to do. Come talk to us. Teachers and admin, teachers can just go ahead and talk to your admin, and then they can go ahead and hopefully they will also understand that this is what we need. Our kids need to be able to be free of a lot of those nuisances that go on sometimes with their phones. And we're hoping that this will have a positive impact. We don't want to get to the point where we're saying no phones at all on our campuses at all. But, that is something that is always there as an option. I don't think that any one of us at this point is there. But if it needs to come back to us and we need to make a different decision, then I think that that's a discussion that the board will have at that time. Superintendent Acevedo, as far as our principals are concerned, do they understand what this policy requires them to do?
So this is a first read. If it's read a second time, if there are no changes and it's brought back a second time and is approved, then it will be reviewed again with principals. Yes, they have access to see it as it is right now, but there's no discussion of how to enforce that or until it's actually approved.
Okay, so is that something that you are planning to do in the near future if this is approved tonight?
Once we have a new board policy approved. It'll take 2 reads, so this is the first read.
Yes. Okay. Because I would love to hear what their point of view is. Maybe they need some supports from us to be able to carry this out, but that needs to be a conversation that they need to have with you. So, thank you.
Just to ask a clarifying question, we didn't change anything in this policy, correct? This is the policy that already stands?
This is a policy that you've reviewed in the past. You've taken a look at this before.
So this is just the cleaned up version, which is why there's no strike-throughs or things like that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Hirschfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to echo what my colleagues have already said, and I think it's something that most of us feel. I know a lot of school districts are moving towards a much more strict policy on cell phones. I applaud this board and admin for doing this work. A while ago and making sure that we're very thoughtful and having these conversations. I think me personally, still very split on this. The reality is this policy is, with a couple exceptions, basically the same policy we've always had, right? But a policy is only as good as the follow-through of the policy. Teachers and everybody on staff need to know that we have your back. Admin has your back when it comes to this policy. We need to know that the policy is being followed in order to know if the policy is just not working. I know it's incredibly difficult. I have to pry phone from my kid's hand all the time. I can only imagine what you guys go through daily. I know it's really difficult, and I know that the attention that our kids have, the more engaged they are, the more we reach them, the less it can be a problem. But it's going to take all of us to understand that this is the direction that we're going, so we don't have to do a more strict policy. Or some districts are doing the yonder bags and having no phones on campus at all. And we're going to see how that plays out in those different districts, and maybe that informs our decision later on. But as for now, as much as phones are a problem, we just all have to be in it together and really do our best to keep it under control. That's all I'll say about that.
Agreed. Vice President Garza. Anybody else? Board Member Cintron, Board Member Armstrong?
I've already spoken on this. I'm kind of, these kids, they can find a way to get out of everything. They know how to break those bags and get the phone out. Excuse me. And we're here to support the teachers, but we have to really be an example for the teachers. We have to make sure that staff and teachers are not on the phone also. We have to be in this together. We have to really make sure that our parents are aware of what we are going to enforce, so we won't have parents coming in being irate also. So let's just, whichever way we move, let's be very solid and have all the components in order so that we can really enforce it and support our teachers in this, because those kids will lay you out over a phone. So that's all I have to say. We have to do it because we have to get the kids back focused on classroom activities. And then and not only that, I do know some teachers in the high schools. Sometimes and this is why it conflicts me, because with AI and the technology, everything you can do on the phone, a lot of times some teachers will encourage the kids to use the phone because they'll have like some type of lesson on it to where they could, I guess, whatever lesson they're going to be doing. I don't teach high school. Y'all know I do early childhood, special education. And trust me, those kids, they are attracted to a phone. Even those 3- and 4-year-olds are attracted to a phone. They can find it anywhere. And so the thing is, we're ready to support. We just need to make sure you guys have everything in order. And let's just do it right the first time so we won't have to backpedal. We need to be very intentional. That's all.
Board Member Cintron.
I think for me, I go back and forth on this policy because I understand both sides. I understand that our kids are very attracted to phones and they could be used as a tool in the classroom, but I also understand that teachers have to battle a lot more things than just a phone usually, but things come from usage of a phone. So I do want to echo my colleagues in making sure that this is a blanketed policy that's enforced properly at all our sites with the intention of bringing everybody into the fold and not punitive, as President Stewart said, but in a way, oh, I'm sorry, did someone say something? But in a way that this policy is not only heard but seen on campuses, that is informed to the parents especially, and that our students are given an opportunity to be taught how to have a phone and be responsible in using that phone, because I don't think there's any accountability within our student body as well, and I'm thinking of our high schoolers. But I know that there are groups of students out there that would encourage and be right behind this policy and thrilled about it as well, because it does pull away from their academic goals as well when the teacher is distracted trying to handle 10 or 12 other students doing something on the phone. So I want to see how this rolls out is more of me. I want to know the processes after this gets read and put into practice. I want to know what that rollout looks like, and I want to know how it's going to be enforced, and I don't think it needs to be a one-time thing. It has to be something that we do and reminded of throughout the school year several times. So there's my piece.
Thank you. Vice President Garza.
Yes, I did want to ask a couple other questions. With the this policy, if it does get approved for the second reading, what is our thoughts about rolling it out? Like our board member Cintron was saying, are we going to have it go out to like all our staff, teachers, admin, support staff, so that way everyone knows about this policy? Are we giving it out to our students as well? And if we are, how are we going to do that? Are we confirming that everyone who is in our school district understands this policy? Because we can place it in a handbook, but how do we confirm that it was read?
So what I would suggest, Ms. Garza, is after this is approved or during that second read process, we determine what that rollout period would be, because you do need to inform staff, you do need to set up procedures, you do need to inform the students and their families. So my suggestion would be that we would have a timeline for that rollout. You wouldn't just be able to approve it and expect it in action the following week. That's something that you'd need to spend some time on.
And also, just to kind of put on, maybe on your radar, could our district benefit from maybe a cell phone education program, or maybe something that is done prior or at the same time that we send out this policy? Maybe best practices at home. Not to tell parents what to do, but these are some of the things that we encourage as a school district. And maybe some data on what happens to kids, because it's not just about the policy, in my opinion. I think that some parents do need to have these facts and have kind of an education on it. And even some students, they may not realize what is going on because they are the ones, inside this phone. So some type of education process, or just kind of making them aware and making sure that they understand this is for their own good as well, as much as possible, as much as they can understand that.
Yes, I'll make note. That's something that we can look into.
Thank you.
Clerk Critchfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I know we're talking about rollout, but this is basically the same policy we've always had, right? So we're talking about rolling out the accountability piece and the oversight.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is very similar to what your current policy is.
Okay, so there should be no shock factor as far as putting it out, but how we roll out the communication on, hey, I know we've had this policy, but now we all got to be on the same page.
There will be a bit of shock factor because you do see lots of students in the classroom that are on their cell phone. So this will be an adjustment.
All right. Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Sorega. Is it possible, we're not changing any of the language. Do we need a second reading, or can we forego that and just approve this policy and start working on the rollout process? Your mic. Have a second reading because it would be agendized. Is that what you're going to tell me?
Yes.
I knew it. I'm getting good. Okay. Anything else? All right. Can I get him? Go ahead. Board Member Cintron.
Thank you. I did want to say on the second read, if there can be already a suggested plan of rollout to also consider, if that's something that we can do during the meeting.
I have a question. Is this something that staff, you guys would create and then tell us and we'd give input, or do you want us to kind of give you guys input? Or once we get to that second reading, how do you guys see it rolling out? Is it something that you and your cabinet do and then we add in, or is it something that you would like us to create?
I think what, if you don't mind, would probably be best would be to work with the sites, the high schools especially, and the middle schools, to talk to them about what would be the most practical, feasible way to actually reinstitute this particular policy.
Okay, so you would kind of do that and then talk about it and then bring it back to us and then we can add in.
Correct.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions? Student board member, do you have anything on this? I know cell phones are your favorite thing probably.
Yes, I do see one of my teachers here, and good. Cell phones is definitely an issue between me and my peers and just my classmates all around us. I'm just wait. It won't really apply too much for me because I am graduating, but I do see where this comes into place and how this could benefit all the students. It's definitely something that students aren't necessarily going to like, but again, like having the board like show its benefits, I think they'll understand eventually.
And I think I understand the cell phones, but you guys do have Chromebooks. So really you want your cell phones for all the extras that you can't do on your Chromebooks, being honest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You're awesome for being honest. Anything else, colleagues?
No, I just have a question. As a student, and you're on campus because I'm not on campus, do you see staff, like teachers and instructional staff, do you see them on the phone walking around with their phones?
I actually don't see. As far as my teachers, they usually put their phone down like completely away from them. So I think that their influence on that could probably benefit the students because they're not on their phones either.
Okay, so that part we really don't have to worry about.
Yes.
So we're already on the path.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And I do understand the staff being on the phone, but I'm going to tell you, as a PE teacher that doesn't carry a walkie, I love having my phone because I've had to call 911 many times. So I understand we want to be role models, but we really want the kids to learn, our test scores to go up, and I think that's what we're doing, focusing on this. Anything else? All right, so can I get a motion to approve 14.4?
You have that motion?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Supnet?
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong?
Aye.
Ms. Cintron?
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield?
Aye.
Mrs. Garza?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye. Okay. All right, moving on to item 14.7. Clerk Critchfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I was hoping to get more information on this one, if I could, from staff.
So this is a resolution for the board that's in accordance with Education Code that would allow the district to release temporary employees by the end of the year upon giving official notice of that.
Dr. Smith, are all of these temporaries, or are there any probes on this?
No probes. They're all temporary employees, mostly temporary teachers. There are some counselors, and there are a couple of temporary administrative positions as well.
Okay. Clerk Critchfield?
So is this a procedural thing that we do every year? Just
Well, so my understanding of our prior practice has been that the board, my understanding, I'll put it that way, has been that the board hasn't actually acted to do this when it should. According to the Education Code is clear, the board may. So this resolution is in alignment with what the law requires for releasing temporary employees.
okay. So we need to. So this is in accordance with law. This is what we should be doing when releasing these temporary employees. So we don't need these employees.
So it's not necessarily a matter of not needing them, and no one should read into this resolution or the fact that we're asking the board to consider releasing temporary employees as they're not valued, they're not important, they're not serving a vital function. Releasing temporary employees is a pretty typical thing that most districts do on an annual basis. We've done it on an annual basis. Just again, my understanding of our process is we haven't involved the board, my understanding, but here we are. And so essentially, one of the major reasons why districts do this is typically it allows you some flexibility with respect to looking at your overall staffing picture and numbers, also looking at your budget, and then also taking a look at what type, why you need these temporary employees to begin with.
Could it also be due to funding of some of these positions? Like say if funding wasn't going to be available for some of these positions, you can. I think Renee wants to say something. Are you going to chime in?
Very good, Brad. It can be due to funding. I was agreeing with that statement. Sorry.
Absolutely.
So because we're given this notice of releasing these, it doesn't mean that some of these people might be back, right?
Certainly. Some of these employees very well may be invited back because there's a continued need. There's a strong enough funding source to maintain the funding for them. So certainly that can be the case. And for example, last year there were a number of temporary employees that were noticed or they were informed that they might not be returning or they wouldn't be returning, and we brought a number of them back based upon need.
So my only concern, I understand the procedure, and I applaud you for actually doing it the proper way and bringing it before the board if we haven't done it with past practice. But my only concern is that when you let all these people know, like, especially when you have valuable people that you might be, how do you retain them? How do you do that? Like, do your process, which is, aligning with the budget and need, and I get all that. But how do you make sure that we're not losing quality people in this process?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, and that's the most difficult part about having to do this, and this is the most difficult part, the challenge that comes with having temporary employees on staff. Usually, when people are placed on a temporary contract, usually the dialogue is, this is a one-year contract that expires at the end of the year, and there's no guarantee that you will return. So right up front, the fact that somebody's labeled a temporary employee is kind of, it's gut-wrenching.
Right.
I've been a temporary employee. I've been a permanent employee that's gotten RIF notices every year and then rescinded. So I have a lot of empathy. I've been in those shoes, and I know how that feels. So there's no great way to do this, just to be candid.
Sure.
But the other component of it is it's better to inform early that this is a possibility and that this could happen and bring somebody back as soon as you know that you're able to than to have a surprise with someone in June.
Right.
It's just because I've been on the end of that as well, where I've had to deliver the news in June that, hey, you're not coming back. And there was really not much warning. A decision got made on budgeting, whatever it may have been. And that's even more painful to have to give. And
Right.
so, one of the things that we've asked principals, for example, as they're talking to their people, is let them know, let them know that, this is what could happen. Give some reassurance that there's some potential that they very well could be asked to return, but also that they have to look out for themselves and not necessarily count on that.
Yeah.
Personally, I feel like it's better to do this early and inform early than the other way around.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I've been a limited time employee at the college, and I do get it. I think the main thing is making sure when we're doing this, like if there's need, that we're staying on top of that and doing whatever we can to retain the best people, but also making sure when that categorical funding ends, if there was some value that was provided through that categorical funding, that we're finding it in other places to make sure that we're backstopping those needs. So.
Thank you for sharing that. And that process is happening now. We're working through the staffing process right now, looking at what each of our school sites need. We're also always considering board priorities, and board-approved plans as part of that. That comes together in that complete picture. And so our intention would be to act as quickly as possible if we can.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Critchfield. Another challenge that I see is that we have sometimes too many temporary teachers. So my question is, what are we doing protocol-wise, or what are we planning in the future, or what are we working on to limit the amount of temporary teachers we have? Because they're really only supposed to be used for certain placeholders. And I think sometimes not even just this district, sometimes that gets a little abused. So what are we doing to not have so many temporary teachers in place?
Well, I'm glad that you asked. We've put in place, really starting this year, because this was a conversation. Carrie's there. I'm going to throw your name in here. This was a conversation that Carrie and I had early, our BTA president, had earlier in the year about this being a concern. And so one of the things that I did early on was work pretty closely with the rest of the HR team to see how many temporary teachers we could convert over. And we were able to convert over, reclassify, I guess you could call it, I think a dozen, maybe a little more. It was more than we've had in many, many years, which I was pretty happy with. So part of our annual review will include early on in September, once the dust kind of settles, maybe even October, because you get close to seabeds at that point and you really know your budgeting. But sitting back, taking time, reviewing, going through those things, and making sure that we have people that are holding spots as temps for the proper reasons. And generally speaking, the proper reasons are somebody's holding a place for somebody that's ill, injured, that kind of thing, unable to work. Categorical funding is obviously directly in the law. Also, there's grant funding, things like that go into that formulation.
And holding for TOSAs and people that are out of the classroom as well, correct?
Depending upon the funding source, yes.
Okay. Board Member Cintron.
Yeah, just for a point of clarification for those that are here and that are watching. So when the district sends out these notices, when do these people that receive these notices find out if they're able to return or not? Or they're going to be asked to return or not?
So we don't have a definitive timeline on that.
Right,
I would
right.
love to be able to say we would have this pinned down by March 31st. I'm not able to give that type of specificity. So our goal would be to work through our staffing process, evaluate our needs. The LCAP plays a role in this to a degree as well, to a large degree, and to have as much of that taken care of prior to the end of the school year, if not sooner.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Vice President Garza.
Thank you, President Stewart. I think you've answered all the questions that I was going to ask, but I do want to just clarify for myself. What is our staffing process right now? Does it need to be, updated? Are we looking at maybe doing away with some of those processes, or so that way we can get closer to an accurate amount of temporary teachers?
So I'm very glad that you asked. Being pretty new and being new along with Renee, because Renee is the budgeting end of this, and with my human resources team, and obviously Ed Services, we've been spending a lot of time looking at, well, what has our approach been? And I would say the thing that we've been doing is really taking a look at what our contractual obligations are. And that's why, we've obviously worked with BTA through the negotiations process on class sizes, because ultimately that guides what you do. And we've taken a look at all of our school sites and all of their enrollment, at least as it sits today, to get some initial staffing projections as to how many teachers we would need, for example, to meet those contractual obligations with respect to staffing. Then what folds into that are other pieces like, well, do we have intervention teachers? What other type of things does each site need? And then you repeat that over the course of every school site. And every school site looks a little bit different and has slightly different needs. Some of the things that makes that challenging are declining enrollment, small schools, difficult numbers in a grade level, that are, you normally wouldn't put 2 teachers there, but you have to because you don't have enough to get to that 3rd teacher or whatever. You can't run it with 1. So all of those things come into place, and we do that site by site by site, and that process is ongoing right now. We're also working through that process with the high school as well.
Any other questions, comments? All right, can I get a motion to approve item 14.7?
You got that motion?
May I get a second? I second. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Supnet?
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong?
Aye.
Ms. Cintron?
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield?
Aye.
Mrs. Garza?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye. All right. Our last withheld item is 14.21, award recommendation for RFP, E-rate category. Clerk Critchfield.
Thank you, Madam President. So I just have a question on this, and I do apologize. I didn't send this before, so I know you're just getting this. So if you need, if you need to get back, it's more about. We had talked about going to Planet Bids, and I was hoping because I noticed on this RFP we only had one person respond to it. So I think is it 2, but 1 was unresponsive. So they responded unresponsive. I can get down with that, I guess. Non-responsive. but like the RFP, to only get one, like how did we put it out there? Did we really try to get bids? Was there something different about this one particular? And are we on Planet Bids now, or is that still ongoing?
Okay, great question.
And again,
It's okay. I appreciate it. I think I can get most of them tonight, so that's good. We did it through the normal process, which is the 2 weeks in the newspaper, and we proceeded with we have it on our website, so we have it in all the areas required by law, and then we followed up with any questions that any of the vendors had. We followed up with any of the questions that the vendors had, and then we gave them an opportunity to actually walk the sites to look at it. So the 2 vendors that did come through were the vendors that we got. We are now on Planet Bids. It's actually on our website. So if you're really interested in that, there is a feature when you go into the business services, fiscal services. You'll see a feature on our website that kind of talks where vendors can go onto Planet Bids. So I'm really happy to announce that our first bid that will be running through Planet Bids is going to be for the Mayfair Fields.
Nice.
And so it is a good process. I think that we do end up in this case, even though that we only had the 2, we did get a vendor that is very good for the services that we need in this particular case at a price that is reasonable for what we need. And so I'm not disappointed in this one. This one couldn't wait. We had to, because of E-rate funding, we have to get this one done earlier so that we can apply and qualify for the E-rate funding portion, which is what makes it affordable. So I'm not disappointed in how we did this and what came about from it, but I am looking forward to utilizing Planet Bids for our future bids, and looking forward to sharing more with the board as we learn more.
Great, and I appreciate that. And I don't have any concern with this particular RFP. It was just an opportunity to ask about the Planet Bid. So
it worked out.
I'm happy we're going forward with that, and thank you for the work there.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions, comments? All right, can I get a motion to approve 14.21?
You have that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Supnet?
Aye.
Ms. Armstrong?
Aye.
Ms. Cintron?
Aye.
Mr. Critchfield?
Aye.
Mrs. Garza?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye. All right, moving along to board communications. Can we start with our student board member?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So, as a Bellflower, we just did have our Renaissance Rally Week. Our Spirit Days and our rally was inspired by Inside Out. With the rain, it was like really hard to set up everything, but I think this was a really nice opportunity to share for everyone who had academic achievement. We got to announce our valedictorian and salutatorian for the 2025 school year, which again, I just want to congratulate Jessen, Alyssa for valedictorian, and Eduardo for salutatorian. ASB showed a lot of appreciation for the people who participated in our games and even gave them prizes for participating voluntarily. Then I recently attended Read Across America alongside some other students. The schools we attended were Baxter, Ramona, Woodruff, Washington, and Ernie Pyle. I had the pleasure of attending my elementary school, Baxter. It was really nice to see all my old teachers and having the opportunity to read to all these little kids. Spring seasons have started. Some of them can be swim, baseball, softball, beach volleyball, boys tennis, and more. It was the end of the third quarter today, which it's very nice to know that school is almost over. More of this now is just planning for senior events. There's not too much for the general school. Again, prom theme is getting revealed tomorrow, and there's going to be more setup for prom. Again, it's more of just for the seniors to sort of just enjoy their last couple months here. Senior countdown is starting to come up. People are still getting their acceptances. I've gotten a couple of acceptances, but thank you. I got to Cal Poly Pomona, Cal State Fullerton and UC Santa Cruz. I'm still currently waiting for some more for biology. Thank you. And then upcoming, actually next week, for the anatomy course, we're going to go to the National Science Museum with my teacher, Ms. Mantel. But that should be really fun. But yeah, there's still some more fundraisers and little things to come for Bellflower, but it's more of slow season now. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Subnet. Board Member Armstrong.
Thank you, President Stewart. Good evening, everyone, and again, thank you for joining us as we carry out the business of the board. I hope you guys adjusted to daylight saving time. I'm struggling, but it's okay. I was able to join the management in the initial unconscious bias training led by Dr. Bryant Marks out of Morehouse, and I'm looking forward to the remainder of our employees to also receiving this training. I attended the Seroptimus International of Artesia and Cerritos, their 31st annual Monte Carlo Gala fundraiser. That was my first time attending the gala, and it was fun. You know, the event was very well put together with a silent auction and casino-style games and a delicious buffet dinner. I mean, that chicken was good. But anyway, okay. And then the thing is, the Seroptimus, you guys probably know this, but for the record, they donate to over a dozen programs locally to help improve the lives of women and girls. So I didn't mind contributing to the activities. So yeah, I contributed to the I didn't do the silent auction, but I did one of the other fundraising things. So I've been ill, and it seems that every time I think I'm getting well, something arises again. So I'm really trying to do my best to take my vitamins and take care of myself so that I can be here, because I missed the meeting last month. I mean, a couple weeks ago, because we have them 2 times a month. So I'm just still trying to find out what is going to work for me to make me healthier. So this month, the month of March. We celebrate. I know I am continuing to celebrate Women's History. All month long, we can celebrate all the achievements and contributions of women throughout history. It's also, and this is my field, it's also Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And developmental disabilities is a condition usually diagnosed during a child's development and before adulthood. So the developmental disabilities impair several areas of development, such as physical, learning, language, or behavior. So developmental milestones such as language, response to sound, walking, and following simple instructions are just a few milestones in a child's development. And this month, this year, Mardi Gras fell in March, so I especially like to celebrate Mardi Gras. I really do bring the activities to my 3- and 4-year-olds, and it's amazing. I took videos of them dancing to the Zydeco music, and we had our king cake. You know, we just celebrated. They're 3- and 4-year-olds. You know, so anyway, I just love those celebrations. And tomorrow is 3/14. Y'all know what that is, right? 5 days. So I got my T-shirt this year. I got a T-shirt, and I'm gonna eat some pie. So anyway, that's a math thing. I don't do math, y'all. I don't do math. But I'm gonna eat the pie, and I'm wearing my T-shirt. So I'm aware. So there are many other things that are and have been happening this month. But anyway, as for me, I'm just trying to stay healthy, and that's it. I can go on and on, but I'm gonna quit before they put a time limit on me. Y'all want some more? Amy says no.
Time limits are a Mr. Critchfield thing, not a Miss Stewart thing. All right, Board Member Cintron.
So I was able to attend the Women's Leadership and Empowerment Conference that LACO put on, the Los Angeles County Office of Education, this year. And I have to say it was a privilege to be able to go to that conference and attend and be part of the keynote speaker. I think if we can bring in the keynote speaker for some kind of development for our teachers or our administration or both, it would be amazing. Our keynote speaker was just powerful. And I am sure Amy's going to touch on it, President Stewart. But I have to say, it was an all-day event. It was broken up into different sessions. There was musical performances by students, which was really, really powerful and beautiful. And it also gave us an opportunity to network, especially as a newer school board member. The networking is very, very important. And I'm just going to say this. I think one of the platforms that I stood on, especially when I was running, is to make sure that Bellflower is no longer insular and that we're able to network with everybody in the region to get the best knowledge and bring it back to our district and making our district strong. So, that happened, and I got to see some of my old LACO colleagues, which was amazing too. So again, I just want to, thank you for allowing me to attend these conferences and bringing back knowledge and being more aware of the subjects and the topics that matter to teachers, administrators, school board members, superintendents. There were just so many things going on. It was really incredible. But I will take a point of privilege and say, excuse me. This has been acknowledged already by the board, the staff, teachers. But my heart goes out to the teachers and the students and the family from the student this week. My family is tied in as a Craig Williams family and a Mayfair family, so it really hits close to home. So I just want to say my condolences from me and my family. And what an incredible job our administration has done to support the teachers and students. And we will continue to support in any which way we can. And please take advantage of any services that you might need. There is no shame in that. There's no stigma attached to it anymore. We're power in numbers, and if your voice needs to be heard, let it be heard. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Board Member St. John. Clerk Critchfield.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me see. A few events. Read Across America is always one of my favorite events. I was able to go speak at Lindstrom. I sat on a whoopee cushion. It was great. President Stewart went as well. Always one of my favorite events. We also went to the interim superintendent Lisa Acevedo and I went to Lakewood's Legend event where they honored Project Shepherd, which I know she helps out with. Go Rotary. And also honored Dave Rhoda, Dennis Lander, and then the late Kirk Reel, who was a commissioner, volunteer, and a longtime educator here in BUSD. So that was great. I'm glad we were able to be there to represent and honor him. Mayfair PTSA Reflections. As always, President Stewart and I went to that. I think it's really important to partner with our PTSA, both of our sites and in our PTAs in general. And one of the things that we've been talking about is how do we get more involved in that. And one of the ideas that's been floated around is having a film festival contest for our high schools. This is my first time plugging it in public. It's a vision. I think it's going to happen in the future. and chip away at that. Also, the Lakewood Youth Hall of Fame, that was another one, and Mayfair is a part of that. And this is, again, something President Stewart and I have discussed a lot of. It's great that we have that event for our Mayfair students. I do feel our Bellflower High students get left out of that equation, and I would love to see something in our district where we do something to honor those students just like we do our Mayfair students. So, with the foundation coming up, I think that's something that, again, is a vision that maybe this board can work on to make happen for those students. Also, oh yeah, it wouldn't be my board report unless I brought up wrestling. But I want to say specifically, congrats to our state, because it happened after the Youth Hall of Fame. We had 4 wrestlers go to state and compete, and Rihanna, 8th place, Alyssa Prado, 7th place, and then Kaden Carty, 3rd place in state. That's huge. So congrats to them, congrats to the whole team. On April 26th, we'll be flying to Washington, D.C. to advocate for our students. District colleagues and admin will be out there. Also on the foundation, I will say I'm growing more and more excited about that. I know Chris Childress just submitted his application to be on the board as well. He's a brother of Josh Childress, and they do a lot of work in the community. So I think the group that's coming together to really start that foundation is going to be a great thing. I'm a big believer in not poetic justice. Well, yeah, poetic. Just I find having those people that are still willing, even if they've had bad experiences in the district in the past, recognize the change and recognize the efforts that we're making and willing to keep giving back to our students. So that was a highlight of my week when I met with him. So excited about that. And I do want to say Happy Women's History Month. I don't know if you've noticed this. I am surrounded by amazing women who put in so much work, and Ryan is surrounded as well, and Andrew as well. We have an amazing team, and I admire all of you, whether it's at home with my 2 daughters and wife or here. I'm always in awe of your power, your passion, and your leadership. So thank you. In my opinion, every day is Women's History Month, which doesn't make sense now that I say it out loud. Sometimes you got to hear it. And I'm stutter stepping to this last one because my reaction is going to be similar to my colleagues. My heart hurts for our students and their family, and I just want to say I'm proud of everybody for coming together and being there for our students, and appreciate Ms. Acevedo for the conversations we had after. I think it's something that in a perfect world, nothing like that ever happens. I have a little bit of PTSD from it, from my experience last year with my little brother. But the thought that I couldn't shake is that when that happens, there's somebody else on our campus right now that is still here, that is looking for somebody to give them a different way. And it's not just necessarily about going out for RFP to have a new program to come onto our campus, and those needs need to be there. We need to provide those, but it's everybody that's on campus every day. You don't need to be a specialist to see that somebody needs somebody to talk to. So I think it's upon all of us to do whatever we can, and this is a very sad reminder of that, but I want to say my condolences and thank you everybody for pulling through and being strong. That's all.
Thank you, Clerk Critchfield. Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. I was able to also go to the the Rotary, the Sir Optimus, International Monte Carlo night as well. And it was really a nice event. It was an event that, like my fellow board member Armstrong said, that this is the night that they really get a lot of that money for the funding of all these different programs and scholarships that they give out. So it's a really good cause. And we also made our donation as well to that cause ourselves. Myself, I'm sorry. I also was able to go to the to the Lakewood Hall of Fame, and it was a wonderful night to celebrate our students there from Mayfair and all the other surrounding school districts as well. But I agree with our board members that we kind of need to do something for our Bellflower High School students as well. We need to elevate their accomplishments and how hard they work as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing something like that come to fruition in the near future with our foundation. I think we've all kind of said it, and this is a difficult time for BUSD. I know we kind of went through this before, and we always hope that it never, ever happens again. So our condolences to the family, our support to the staff, and the administration that has to put all of this in place. Thank you to our district staff for helping our schools, especially Alma. I know that you had a big, part in that. And hopefully that we are always talking to our kids as much as we can, because you never know. You really never know who you will be able to help by just saying hello, or maybe asking, how are you doing? Or, so teachers, please, as much as you can. I know you already do this, and maybe I'm just, I'm preaching to the choir. But just say hello to someone and see how they're doing and check in with them periodically. You never know who will benefit from that. And maybe we can pass that along to our kids, because they are really the ones that know what's going on with them. And they will hear it first. So encouraging our students to say something to our administration, maybe perhaps to some other teachers. Maybe that could be a factor as well. But again, I think that we're all doing this, but continued support in that. Thank you so much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Vice President Garza. All right, good evening. I've been super busy the last few weeks. I attended the Lakewood Youth Sports Hall of Fame as well. Congratulations to all of the outstanding student athletes and teams that were recognized. I attended the Lakewood State of the City with Mrs. Acevedo. We had an alliance meeting on February 26th. We talked again about climate and culture of our schools. I also attended the LACO Women's Empowerment Conference in Alhambra with Board Member Cintron. She is absolutely right. The keynote speaker, her name is Merlyna, Merlyna Valentine. She was so inspirational. She was a principal, she was a teacher, and she talks about her journey. She got really sick, she got sepsis, and she had to have both of her legs and her arms amputated, and she was told she would never be a principal again, and she went back and made that school just even better. And she was so inspiring, I think, just because it was education. It showed her fight, her spirit. She was amazing. So it was a really awesome and inspirational day. I also attended at that workshop, at that conference, I attended a leadership session, which was really good, and a session on AI presented by LACO, which is, again, a reminder. I know I've talked with Mrs. Acevedo about this, that we need to talk about forming an AI plan and a policy, so hopefully we will start to talk about that process soon. I attended a few Read Across America events, which I absolutely love. I visited Lindstrom, and I read to Mrs. Nishimuto and Mrs. Cummings' second grade classes, which is always going to be a tradition. I always go there, and I love going there. And I always have to stop by our TK class with Dr. Robinson. So thank you to AP Stern for guiding me through the campus and allowing for me to be a part of your day. I visited Washington. Thank you to Ms. Arroyo for allowing me into your world for a little bit. I read to a TK special ed class, which they're just so adorable. I visited our art class, which is one of our Prop 28 editions. Teacher is amazing. The kids were drawing, and it was so great. And we also had one of our she's a junior at Bellflower. She's our ASB president, and she was reading to the kids. And I really love how they integrated the students from the high school in with our elementary kids. That was a really cool concept. I also went and I read in one of our best classes. It was a 4th through 6th grade best class. And I'm still going to plug again that I think we should look at that for our younger ages because it's a good program. I attended the fair at Mayfair High School with Clerk Critchfield. Thank you so much to Mr. Diaz, Mr. Wright, and Mrs. McDaniels for taking us to see classes. I enjoyed the CTE classes we visited, except for the science class that was dissecting the cats. That wasn't cool. But the middle school classes were amazing, so thank you to all of our teachers and staff for what you do and for really putting on a great night, even in the rain. Thursday, I met with CSCA President and Representative Dotu. We talked about some of our concerns we're still talking and collaborating with our district, but overall, it was really well, so thank you for meeting with me. Monday, I attended the PTSA Art Reflections at the STEAM Building at Mayfair. Some of our students are so talented, and the art was so beautiful, so it was so nice to honor and to celebrate them, so that was really cool. And a few random things that I just wrote down. One, it's softball season. I'm an ex-softball player, so good luck softball at Mayfair and Bellflower, and to our baseball teams as well. They have amazing teams, so I'm excited to watch and see. I coach, so I don't get to go to a lot of softball games, which is sad, but I'm the wrestling coach at my school, so I have to miss sometimes. Today, for staff, I was trained on using AEDs, and I know that was effective in 2019, but I know a lot of districts are still catching up. On the Friday memo, can I please get an update of how many we have at each campus and where we are with our training and who has been trained to use the AEDs? That would be great. Last, I just wanted to speak really quick. Our board pay was brought up, and so I feel like I need to talk about this publicly because a lot of people don't understand how our board pay works. Our board pay, and all board pay, is ed code, and it's based on ADA. So a lot of people think we're rich and famous and we're celebrities. No, we make $240 a month. So I just want to put that out publicly. So when everyone says how much we make and all the perks we have, we make $240 a month. So we are very excited, and we don't want to sound selfish and be the ones talking in our own behalf, but we are very excited that they're looking at a bill, and we learned in this bill that board pay has not been raised in 40 years. 40. So I just wanted to put that out there and just think about the 2 meetings a month, the events, the emails, the phone calls, all of the things that we do. It's $240 a month, and let me add again, before taxes. So I just want to put that out there. So anybody, when we start to write some emails and things, if anyone would be willing to, we want good people on this board. So if anyone's willing, please reach out to me. We would love to get some emails out to Patrick O'Donnell from CSBA. They're starting this kind of voyage with us, and we love that. And then lastly, I just want to say I'm so proud to be up here with my colleagues. You can see the emotions up here tonight when we talk about children and our kids, and we really do care so much about our teachers, our staff, our kids, and you can see that in our emotions. And I want to just say I'm so proud of you guys. Like, I really love that all of you guys have ran for this position. You have been elected in this position because I do think you have great, genuine intentions, and I love that about all of you guys. So I just want to say thank you. And the last thing I just want to say is, even as elected officials, sometimes we get bullied online. Sometimes people say awful things about us, and I just want to reiterate, think about the things that you say to people. I know that, Board Member Cintron talked about this, but please think about the things you say to people. Think about the things you write online and maybe read it back and think, should I say that? Should I really bring up people's families or talk about people? I just think that maybe people should think about that. And if not, then I will pray for you and wish you the best of luck. But it's not cool to bully people, whether it be in person or online. So I just want to leave you with that last thought. So thank you so much. Do we have any question on informational items? Oh, actually, I made one mistake that I need to come back to. We voted to approve the legislative committee, and I just wanted to say that I would like to add Board Member Garza, Vice President Garza, and Board Member Critchfield on that committee, please. I didn't say that. Any questions on information items? All right. So, unfortunately, The board is going to need to recess back to closed session. So at this time, we will recess back to closed session. There will be no further action taken in open session. Welcome back to open session. Clerk Critchfield, will you please report out on closed session?
The board discussed labor negotiation, and no action was taken in closed session.
If there is no objection, this meeting is adjourned at 8:59 p.m. until the regular board meeting to be held on March 27th, 2025.